Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another book review. Today, I'll be reviewing a very special book, a book that's been on the market for quite some time, Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. So, you would notice that I'm adorning a Nike top today. I usually don't wear Nike, I'm more of an Adidas guy myself, but out of respect, I'll have to wear some Nike today. Man, this book really impressed me. Let me get straight to the chase. This book really impressed me. Very easy read, very nice setup to it. Unique setup actually for a memoir or a biography or whatever you'd want to call it. It really almost reads like a conversation you would have with your grandfather who's sitting on his recliner and almost narrating the story to you of how he built this multi-billion rand organization which is now known as Nike. Absolutely fantastic story, well written, very simple, so no big words, no unnecessary metaphors, a very layman type of book which I really enjoyed. And the lessons, I think, in its multitude are very diverse in the sense that I feel it's one of those books where different people will pick out different things, right? And I like books like that because it means you can recommend them to almost anybody. You can recommend this to your high school sibling. You can recommend this to a friend in university, someone who works with you, even an older entrepreneur. It's a really nice tale that has a lot of lessons in it, from how to build a team, how to manage a team, how to build culture, to, of course, how to endure setbacks in the entrepreneurial journey. So, very nice book. And let me take you through how it's packaged, first of all, right? So, it's very chronological. I haven't read a book that's packaged quite like this. So all the chapters are pretty much named after years. So it's chronological from 1962 to 1980 when Apple goes public. Apple. I'm actually reading Steve Jobs' book still, so that's why I'm thinking of Apple. So from 1962 to 1980 when Nike goes public. Nike goes public on December 2nd, 1980. Coincidentally, it's the same week Apple went public. Funny story as well, or fun fact, the share price was exactly the same amount. Phil Knight actually talks about how the bankers were telling him to go at $20 per share, and he was, I remember now, at that time it had been 18 years kind of him working on this idea, and he heard that Apple was gonna start at 22 rands per share, and he was like, look, I deserve at least to start off at the same amount as those guys. I think we've earned it. And he got his price, 22 rand, $22 per share was Nike's first, was the initial offering to the public. So that's just a fun fact. So very chronological, and again, fitting with the theme I was outlining of almost like your grandfather narrating the story to you. And before you start reading the book, oof, what captured me, I'm big on legacy and things like that, right? So right at the beginning, before you start, you know how authors will usually say, for my children, or she just sent like a shout out to whoever might have inspired the book in the beginning. He says here, for my grandchildren, so they will know. There's something powerful about that. There's something that just touches some strings in me, because for some of us, we driven by legacy, and what you leave behind, and of course, let alone what everybody else might think or what impact you might leave on the world. But it's so important to leave great impact at home. The people who will carry your name, and the people who will hear your stories the most, and the people who will be touched the most by what you've done while you were here. So I thought that was a great intro. I was already bought into to Phil Knight as a person at that point in time, because you really have to be thinking in those type of wavelengths to send a shout out like that even. So yeah, that's how the book starts, right? So what can you expect without giving too much away? Maybe I'll tell you what I got out of it, and just expand a little bit more about what I really liked about the book. So as I said, he really outlined the journey that it took for Nike to happen. Outlined in such great detail, right? From literally him going to Japan for the first time because of this idea that he had that running shoes are gonna be this big thing in the world in the years to come. Him going to Japan and meeting with some senior executives of factories and people who own some shoe brands is insane, because you must remember, again, he's a 24-year-old at the time, 24-year-old MBA graduate, sure, but he's 24, and he's going around the world, and he's pitching to these guys, and he's throwing ideas at these guys, and it's a foreign country. Like, that alone in itself deserves some huge applause, because the guts you have to, and the belief you have to have in yourself to do something like that, to put yourself out there, to leave your comfort zone, is admirable. So that's how the story starts, and the company almost gets founded by accident, because in one of these conversations that he's having with these executives, they kind of going, well, which company do you represent? And he makes up a name, right? Makes up a name. The company initially was called Blue Ribbon, and that's how the talks start. And these Japanese oaks take a liking to him, and they kind of like, okay, well, how many shoes would you like to order, type of thing. And he starts off very small. He just wanted some samples. Really starts off, I think it was $50 or $500, that he wired to them, got the samples, studied the shoes, and then he ordered a bigger shipment to resell. So Nike wasn't even born initially as a proper brand. This company was a reseller brand, reselling Japanese shoes in the American market. That's how it started. And it took about 10 years for it to become Nike, to become I design my own shoes and I sell my own shoes, and I'm sponsoring runners in order to kind of get marketing and build my brand. That took about 10 years, which shows incredible patience. And in that 10 years, it wasn't like a 10 years of stagnation or 10 years of success. It was actually a very stressful 10 years. Cash flow was almost at nil, and the kind of the bargaining and the perseverance he had to endure from the banks. The pressure from the banks was incredible, because remember, again, it's the 60s. It's a small town bank, right, in Oregon, and he's having to ask for these huge lines of credit, and he's just a kid. He's in his mid 20s. It's pretty remarkable, But what I liked about Phil Knight as well, and how he details his story, is how adaptable he was, right? So he goes through all of these problems. People are telling him, no, you can't run a company like this will fail, this will end up causing problems here and here. And he kind of just keeps stubbornly going forward, intuitively just figuring out as he goes ahead. And when people close their doors on him, he doesn't sulk, he doesn't shut down, he quickly just makes another plan, and he keeps moving. And I think that's probably a necessity in any entrepreneur's journey and in any entrepreneur's DNA, which this guy had in the bucket loads. So, huge takeaway. Now, as an Adidas fan as well, I'll get back to that. So, Adidas is smaller than Nike, right? And I just looked at the numbers now. Adidas market cap is around 43 billion. Nike's around 128 billion at the making of this video. So almost three times the size. Now, in 1962, when this whole journey started, Adidas was already 13 years older than Nike. So Adidas was big brother. Adidas was the ultimate goal for Phil Knight, So again, it's just the numbers are insane to say this 24-year-old kid, you know, wiped out this crazy Goliath. There's an element of David and Goliathness in this book, which is really fascinating, and which didn't kind of get the light that maybe it should have gotten, but the book would have been way too long, simply because again the timeline is from inception to IPO. So it didn't really get to stretch over and say, oh, how did the battle of Nike and Adidas happen? How did they overtake Adidas over time? How did they sign Jordan, Kobe, LeBron James, Tiger Woods? How did that part of the journey happen? The book doesn't detail that, so maybe that's again a subject for the movie, if a movie comes. Hopefully it does come. But yeah, so there's that. And then what else did I want to say about this? Oh, what I liked about Phil Knight as well, maybe contra to my friend here Steve Jobs, is he's so relatable. He's like a regular oak, right? He's just a regular oak. Like, there are no extraordinary talents that are shown in the book. It doesn't seem like this guy was a wonder kid from the beginning, or always shown this amazing knack for business or shoes or that. No, he's just a regular kid, and it actually, by all intents and purposes, seemed like he was going the typical route of going to varsity, get a good job, and white picket fence, 2.5 kids, and that's that. By all intents and purposes, that's what it seemed like. That's what his dad was like, actually. And so he defied his dad and defied quite a few constructs within his family for him to walk this journey, which I'm always a fan of. I'm always a fan of the rebel, of the underdog. So there's an element of that. But at the end, there's a Steve Jobs esque type obsession with product, which I really liked. The excellence in product. But that wasn't the that wasn't a big theme in the beginning. It wasn't a very central theme that this guy would pick shoes apart. No, he just wanted to make work fun. He just wanted to sell shoes, make shoes. He didn't really care that much. He didn't seem too obsessed. But at the end, it seemed that, or by the end of the book, it seemed that he was really getting more and more pedantic about the product side of things. How do the shoes look? How do the shoes feel? Are we innovating? Are we outdoing everybody else in the market? And I think that was kind of the platform in which they also overtook Adidas, because they probably got complacent, as some huge corporations end up being, and that's how they overtook them, I think, based on just what I'm seeing from the evidence in the book. So product excellence was a theme at the end there, which I liked. But I'm gonna give you my main takeaways quickly. The biggest one was just do and keep going, do and keep going. This guy, again, I don't want to give too much away. You will see it when you read the book, but he just kept going. This kid faced lawsuits from the federal government. He got the bank for that was bank Blue Ribbon was banking in, kind of dumped them twice. So he got dumped by two banks. Imagine, as a company not having a bank, it's a ca- catastrophe. I'm joking. Catastrophe. What is going on? So it's too late. So it was a catastrophe, right? So that happened, and then the team. I was really impressed by the team that it was able to assemble, and it didn't seem like over the 18-year period there was much of conflict, which is very, very rare for the journey that he walked. He only really outlines one big conflict with some of the guys that came earlier on, and it was really after the success of the Air Jordan and so on, and people, kind of thought they should be getting a bigger share of the pie. That happens, everywhere. But to just have one story like that is quite remarkable. So building a team, and he built the team on intuition more than anything. People that he liked. He just hired people that he liked in the beginning, and I think that was pivotal to Nike's success. And he repaid them. Everyone became a millionaire when Nike IPO'd. Again, I don't want to just put this guy everywhere, unlike my boy over here, which we'll get to in the next video. But he repaid, and he was loyal to everyone. Apparently, still today at Nike's headquarters, buildings are named after these guys. Even some of the guys that endorsed the brand, like Tiger Woods and so on, he really paid homage to everyone who built this brand. So huge teams, everything. Love that theme. And then be yourself. Throughout this book, he was just himself, and he had to check and remind himself multiple times to say, Phil, Buck, as they call him, Buck, just be yourself. Remember why we got into this in the beginning. So that's inspirational. Always be yourself. And he says, happiness is not a what, but a how. Again, bringing the theme of doing, the process of doing, not attaining or having something, but it's the process of doing that brings about happiness. And then I'd like to leave you with this, that he says in the last chapter, almost like the farewell chapter to the book. He says, I'd like to tell any young man or women in their 20s not to settle for a job or profession or even a career, but to seek a calling. Seek a calling. This reminded me of the talk that Steve Jobs made. I can't remember at which university it was, but where he spoke about not settling as well. He spoke about really finding your purpose and finding your gift and doing whatever it takes to do it, and doing whatever it takes to find it, if it means dropping out, if it means, going hungry for a little bit, but don't settle. Find it, find whatever sets your heart on fire, and then tap into that and stay there. So that's what I'd like to leave you guys with. It is Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. Please, please, please go get this book. It's absolutely a fantastic read. It's one of those books that, once again, you can recommend to anyone, but it's also one of those books that you should just pass around, man. Like you shouldn't even keep this here. It's a book that you want people to feel, and you want to talk about it to other people, because again, it's just so rich in experience that different people will kind of highlight different parts of the journey and identify and relate with them. So yeah, that's my take on Shoe Dog. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you've read the book as well. But please get it if you haven't. It's a great read for the year. And yeah, let me know what you guys think. And on the next video, I'll be talking about The Homie. It's taken me quite a while to read it, but after I started this, I had to pause this biography for a second. But I'm almost done, so I should be done this week. And then in the next video, we'll talk about Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson. Cheers, guys.